veins up through my head.
How can I not rush in? Look at this.
Oh, ha! Sigura!
It's a quiet Monday morning in Hainault, East London. Just like any other, people are on their way to work, kids are headed to school, and the streets are beginning to fill with the rhythm of a new day. But within minutes, that ordinary morning would turn into a horrifying nightmare. At the center of it all, a 36-year-old man named Marcus Monzo, a former aspiring rapper who had recently been displaying signs of mental instability. On the surface, he seemed like just another person. But on April 30th, 2024, something in him snapped, and the consequences were devastating. Security footage would later show Monzo walking calmly into a shop. Nothing about his demeanor suggested what was coming next. He unboxed a samurai sword. Yes, a real one, sharp and deadly. No background check, no hesitation. He examined the blade, admired it, then stepped out onto the street. And what happened next would change lives forever. The first victim was 14-year-old Daniel Anjorin. A bright, well-loved boy, Daniel was walking to school in uniform, completely unaware of what awaited him. Monzo attacked him in broad daylight, using the sword to strike him in a completely unprovoked act of violence. Daniel died from his injuries. A family lost their son. A community lost a future doctor, pianist, and friend. But the horror didn't stop there. Monzo then forced his way into a nearby house. Inside were a father and his 2 children. He slashed the father, seriously injuring him, then climbed onto a rooftop and was electrocuted in the process, causing a blackout across the area. As if this wasn't terrifying enough, he then stabbed a woman in the neck to steal her car, before running over another pedestrian during his frenzied escape. The entire rampage lasted around 20 minutes. Police were flooded with emergency calls. Armed officers responded rapidly. They tasered Monzo and arrested him at the scene. His face was bloodied and his expression blank, disturbingly calm for someone who had just committed a murder and multiple attempted murders. It didn't take long for disturbing background details to emerge. Monzo had a history of mental health problems. In 2022, he was sectioned under the UK's Mental Health Act and diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. He reportedly believed that people were spying on him and that the world was somehow out to get him. Despite this, he had been released into the community and was able to buy a samurai sword online with no checks. That one purchase ended up changing everything. When the case went to trial, Monzo pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. The prosecution, however, argued that his actions were deliberate. He had recorded himself on video before the attack, unboxing the sword and speaking in unsettling tones. He knew what he was doing. He had a plan. During the trial, jurors heard testimony from forensic psychiatrists, police officers, and those who witnessed the rampage. The injuries were described in graphic detail. Daniel's parents sat silently in court, holding hands and listening through tears. In the end, Monzo was found guilty of murder and 4 counts of attempted murder. The judge handed down a life sentence, with a recommendation that he never be released. The courtroom was silent as the verdict was read. Some wept, others simply sat in disbelief. The tragedy sparked outrage and sadness across the country. Candlelight vigils were held for Daniel. Hundreds gathered to pay their respects. Strangers left flowers outside his school. Online, thousands of messages poured in. "A beautiful soul taken too soon," read one. Another, "He should have been safe on his way to school." In Parliament, MPs debated the ease of purchasing weapons like samurai swords online. Campaigners called for a ban. Mental health advocates demanded more funding and stronger aftercare policies to prevent high-risk individuals from falling through the cracks. Even the Metropolitan Police admitted the case raised serious concerns. Could this have been prevented? Should Monzo have been monitored more closely after his release from psychiatric care? Could Daniel have been saved? Daniel's school released a heartfelt statement. He had been an exceptional student, bright, kind, and respectful. He loved playing piano and dreamed of becoming a doctor. He had a smile that lit up rooms. His teachers remembered him as someone who always helped others, even going out of his way to support classmates who were struggling. One of the most heartbreaking moments came during his memorial service. Daniel's younger sister read a short tribute. "You were always the brave one. You looked out for me, even when you were scared. I wish you were still here." Sometimes it takes a tragedy to expose the cracks in a system, but this one hit too hard. A young life was stolen. Innocent people were scarred, physically and emotionally, and a community that should have felt safe now feels like something out of a crime documentary. But Daniel's name will not be forgotten. His story has become a rallying cry for change. His memory lives on, not just in headlines, but in every conversation about justice, safety, and the importance of protecting the most vulnerable.